The following is a special presentation from Broncos Television and the NFL. Reflections of Super Bowl XXXII. Champions at last. With Steve Atwater, Alfred Williams, and Mark Schlereth.
Denver's playoff run would feature a recurring theme: revenge. Jacksonville was back in town. A year after one of the most shocking playoff upsets in NFL history, the Broncos had a chance to repay the Jaguars in kind.
That game was for us, it was so bad the previous year because we put a game plan in that would basically check us out of a lot of what we did. It was kind of if this, then this. And we took a running game that was the best in the NFL by a long shot. And I think Terrell Davis had like 12 carries for like 97 yards in that game. He only got the ball, he carried the ball 25, 30 times a game. And we walked into that game going, oh, we're going to rectify this. We're like, this, they ain't going to be no checking out of anything. Like, we are going to cram it down their throat. And so there was just getting into that thing was like, oh yeah, we're about to hurt these guys.
Touchdown in the first half. But in the second half, a 21-7 lead began to evaporate as this contest took a strangely familiar twist.
I remember John getting laid out, is what I remember. I remember the overload blitz. I remember standing on the sideline watching it. I remember when he went down, I was thinking, what in the world is going on? Not again. And then in today's NFL, he wouldn't have been allowed to come back into the game.
Right.
But that was a different NFL, and that's a different quarterback. He's just that good, that tough mentally. And for some reason that day, I think that he understood that this was his football immortality.
We had over 300 yards rushing in that game. So how John got laid out on overall blitz, why we throwing the ball? We got 300 yards right. We didn't need to. So that's coaching mistake. We'll put that on Shanahan.
He's still in there. He's out cold. At 25.
Elway's return inspired the Broncos. But it was the running of Terrell Davis that finally buried the Jaguars.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do remember about the Jacksonville game was how we hadn't really crafted the term revenge tour, but they were certainly at the top of the list of teams that you wanted to beat the following year. When we beat them, it felt like I wanted to play them again next week, and then I want to play them again the week after that. Then I want to play them again after that because I just don't like the team.
Yep. The next game, on to the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, divisional playoff game. Man, that was one of the biggest games that I'd ever played in.
I always thought Kansas City was the toughest place for us to play. And I'll never forget the very first play of the game. So when John, he'd go through his cades, he'd go blue 80, blue 80. And then he'd turn his head the other way, blue 80, blue 80. And then it was a rhythmic timing thing. Well, when he turned his head toward you, you could barely hear him. And when he turned his head away, you completely lost it because the crowd was so loud. And so I'm sitting in my stance and I'm looking, trying to see where he is, right? And later he gave a set hut before he turned his head back. And Dan Williams, a former teammate of ours, was lined up across from me. And he shortened my neck. And I was just like this, just trying to, because I was still in my stance. And luckily he didn't throw a move on me because he hit the quarterback, right? And I finally got him kind of under control. But in that game, we had kicked out of our game plan. We had dropped every 7-step drop we threw. It was all 3- and 5-step quick drops. We knew what a problem it would be in Kansas City. And the other thing I loved about playing in Kansas City is you'd sit on the bench and the crowd felt like they were about 6 feet behind you and standing on top of your head. And they'd just be dog cussing you the whole time. I just thought it was one of the great environments in all of professional football.
Yeah, man, that was a great game. There at the end of the game, man, I remember I think we were playing some type of cover 2 coverage, and We had trips away, and just by the receivers split, I knew they were going to throw the little fade route to him, and I got a good break on it. And Darian, Gordon, and I both were able to break up that pass there. And, man, that was a great feeling. And for a second, though, when we tipped the pass, I saw the receiver go behind us, and I thought he would have a chance to catch it. And so I was worried. I turned around like, oh, no. And he couldn't get to it. I was like, yes. We win.
And this baby is over. Denver returns to the AFC Championship game.
All right, Pat. All right. We needed that.
They'll be in Pittsburgh next Sunday. The winner will go to the Super Bowl.
Hey, they got to go to Pittsburgh.
Man, we beat a heck of a football team. But this is not our goal. Man, this is not our goal. This is a step. You enjoy it. We got one thing on our mind, and what's that? The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Coming off the last time we played them later in the season that lost, what was you guys' mindset going into Pittsburgh, knowing that we just lost the previous game to them?
Well, this is what I thought. I've never beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers one time in my life.
Stop.
It was see.
You were scared going in there.
Hey, man, it's the only team I've never beaten in my entire NFL career. And I played against them twice a year when I was in Cincinnati. And I think I played against them. Well, I know we played against them early in the year and we lost. I think overall I was 0-9 against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What?
Of all the teams that I didn't want to see, that was a team I did not want to see.
I'm glad you didn't tell us that.
You remember what the game plan was the first time we played against Pittsburgh Steelers? It was keep Cordell Stewart in the pocket. He can't beat us with his arm.
Yes.
Not only did he have 300 yards passing, he also had another 100 yards rushing in that game. So,
Yes.
yeah, I was nervous about playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, Johnny boy. Good luck, sir. That's right. Thank you, too. Good luck to you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey.
Whatever happens, the AFC's got to get one.
AFC, this is the year.
That's right.
Hey, man. Stay
In only his third year as head coach of the Broncos,
Go, TD.
Mike Shanahan had taken his team to within one game of the Super Bowl.
No second chances, but let's light it up. No second chances. Let's go. 60 minutes. Go, Steve. 60 minutes, but great day to be alive. Go kick their ass. Let's go, Bill. Let's go kick their ass, but. Come on, hit it. There you go.
See, interestingly enough, like I didn't play in the first game, but Mike had put together a film because we were a West Coast offense, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, but they cut a lot. They're not physical." That was a misnomer. We're one of the most physical teams in football, both sides of the ball, both defensively and offensively. And we used to just cram it down people's throat, even though we cut guys on the backside. I mean, the front side, we would create new lines of scrimmage. Well, it was one of the only games that season, the previous game that we'd lost, that we kind of got out physical. And Mike was just so disappointed. Our coaches were so disappointed about that particular game. Then we had kind of some highlights and, pre-game kind of going into it on the Saturday night meeting saying, man, this will not happen to us again. Like we will not, and it was pointing out players like, here it is, dude, this isn't going to happen. This ain't going to happen. This is not you as a player. And we came out right off the start to set the tone and popped one to Terrell Davis for about 45, 47 yards for a touchdown. Right over Kirkland, and we knew like it's on. Like we're going to dominate this line of scrimmage.
Right.
And it's crazy because I remember the first game, we had a game plan to where we checked out of a lot of things, and this time we stayed in it and we showed blitz a lot. And if Cordell Stewart would have just run the play and stuck with the run, I don't think we could have stopped them the way that we were able to, but he checked out a lot of things when we showed blitz, checked to the pass, and that's right where we wanted him to do. But if he would have run some of those plays, man, I think it would have been a different story. But fortunately, the game plan worked out magically.
Mixing coverages and bringing heat, Denver pressured Cordell Stewart into several costly throws.
And lets it go into the end zone. Pass is going to be fought for and intercepted in the end zone by Ray Crockett.
You know what I remember is we had a 24-21 lead with about 2 minutes left, and we had a third down and like 6.
Yeah.
And we're in the huddle, and Shannon Sharp was like, "What's the route? What's the route?" And it was like John just made a call, like two jet, Sharp, get open, and that was the route. It was like, hey, everybody else just run whatever you're gonna run. Sharp, just find a way to get open.
Wow.
So that's what we ended up winning, convert that third down. Then we had a cutback run by TD that he basically busted it out to the left-hand side, kept himself in bounds, and that was the game. But the call was like two jet. I don't know what the prediction was, if it was 24-25 or if it was two jet or three jet, but it was like Sharp, get open was the route. And that's what we ran.
He caught the pass, and it looked like the ball slipped out there for a second.
Yeah,
right.
That was a great catch.
Yeah, it was a 3rd down and 6 or 3rd down and 7, and that route was Sharp, get open, because you're the guy I'm throwing it to.
The Bronco bench is bouncing up and down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Denver goes to the Super Bowl. They are the AFC champions.
You know what I remember after that game, Atwater, is that I ran up into the stands. I mean, I ran up into the stands. There was just a small number of people that were Denver Bronco fans. And like I said, it was the first time that I beat the Steelers in my entire life. And I think it was the first and last.
Wow.
Okay. First and last time. And what I remember is running up into the stadium with all of my gear on, with my helmet on, jumping over the banister and over the post and over all of the stairs and jumping into and just landing into the arms of Bronco fans, man.
Wow.
I mean, it was, man, I just partied so hard, man. And I'll never forget the ride home on that airplane.
They used to call me Crazy Al. Go ahead. But now they call me Batman. And we like to thank the Indianapolis Colts for 15 years ago making that dumb move, getting us stay our way. Thank you very much.
That's right.
I thought if I had hey, and we got to give a thanks to the guy that makes all this possible. He pulls all the strings. He makes sure we have chicken. We send the best quarters around. We fly first class. Let's put it to the mastermind, Mr. Mike Shanahan.
All right, man. Hey, next was the big game, Super Bowl 32. We did all we had to do. We overcame all the obstacles throughout the season. We went the long, hard route through Kansas City, through Pittsburgh. We make it to the big game. How excited were you guys to be able to play in the Super Bowl?
Before the game, I thought that I was going to be Super Bowl MVP. Here's what's funny about our team. Everybody on our defense thought they were going to be Super Bowl MVP.
Not me. I wasn't thinking that.
You weren't? I tell you what, man, everybody else besides you was thinking that they were going to be Super Bowl MVP.
Absolute classic here at Super Bowl 32 in San Diego.
This was the brilliance of Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak and the guys. When he put on film, and nobody ran it against the Green Bay Packers. They were a dominant defense. We put on the film, and they had a weak side linebacker by the name of Brian Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy that made every play for them in the running game was Leroy Butler. And what they did that was different than everybody else is they would actually exchange responsibilities because Brian Williams was slight and could really run. And so as a weak side linebacker, you would see him start to gain a little depth and a little width. And they basically exchanged. So the strong safety would become the weak side linebacker, and Brian Williams would run the alleys as kind of the strong safety. And so what we ended up doing is every time we ran strong side plays, every time we ran them, we would exchange our responsibilities on the backside. So instead of double teaming to the weak side linebacker, we turn that over. We would get in slot. So you'd have Eddie McCaffrey and Rod Smith on the same side. We turn it over to Eddie McCaffrey in slot, and we'd run like 18 handoff, let Eddie McCaffrey take care of that, and we would scoop double team to the backside safety. And he was making every single play. And Mike was like, this is why we're going to run the snot out of the ball. And we're in meetings like, all week and go, this is why we'll gut them in the running game. Right. And you just kept watching Leroy Butler make every tackle in the backfield on the backside. And I'm telling you what, we started picking him up right off the bat. It unfolded exactly the way we were told in meetings all week that it would unfold. And sure enough, the first time we ran 18 handoff and I'm scooping on the backside, and there goes Brian Williams running out to cover, the slot receiver. And here comes Leroy Butler. And I'm like, hey, idiot, you're about to get hit, And I mean, and TD kept cutting it back there, and we absolutely gutted them on that strong side run play because of the defense that they were running.
But in the second quarter, Terrell Davis suffered a migraine headache that turned Denver's feature back into a decoy.
Remember Terrell Davis? He got hit a couple of times. He had the headache, and then for Mike to tell him, hey, I need you in there on this play. And he's like, I got a headache. I can't hardly see. He's like, well, you don't need to stay on this play. What does that tell you about the relationship that they had for him to have the confidence? He didn't even question. He's like, all right, I'm going in.
Yeah, well, that was the faith you had in what we did offensively and, the players we had and what we were trying to execute. So, and that's the unselfishness of this whole team. I mean, Alfred Williams playing with 2 torn triceps, you with a separated shoulder. Everybody, you don't get through an NFL season without everybody being injured and everybody being hurt. And so that was, that was part of the sacrifice that we were willing to make for one another.
All right, let's go. Let's crank it up. World Championship. 30 minutes.
Tied at 17 in the third quarter, Denver's offense picked up the pace.
H2 all go, near left slot.
Ed McCaffrey's 36-yard reception and Terrell Davis, who returned after missing the second quarter, fueled Denver's march. However, it was the Broncos quarterback who delivered the defining moment of this 92-yard drive.
What about that helicopter play with John? He takes off running. I know we're sitting on the bench. We stand up and watch it. What were your guys' reaction to that play and then him getting hit and wondering, hey, is he okay?
Yeah, I always joke around, and I got this has become urban legend, that I always say I single-handedly won Super Bowl 32, on my 32nd birthday. It was January 25th, 1998, my 32nd birthday.
Wow.
So it was, what a birthday present that was. But I always joke around that I single-handedly won that game because, I missed my block and forced John out of the pocket, and he ran out there. But which is totally untrue. I had my block just fine. But the point being is when John did that and sold out, that was like a 3rd down and 6, and he got the 8-9 yards and did that helicopter twirl thing and got hit like that. Man, at that point, there's not one dude on this football team that is not willing to sacrifice everything he has for us to get a win. And we pull him up off the pocket. And, the guy's 37 at the time, right? And we're just like, ain't no way this team's going to beat us. Just zero chance of that happening. So there was a real confidence boost when that play took place, that, hey, yeah, we're winning this game. There's no question.
Yeah, and for me, I was on the sideline, and it was 3rd down. So, of course, something had to happen there. Either we kick a field goal, defense is ready to go back out, So I'm up watching it, and when he dove for the 1st down and got hit and the helicopter happened, I just, suddenly just one fist pump, like, okay, this is who we are. This is what we're doing today. This is who we are, and this is what we're doing today. And so it just signified who we were at that moment, how tough we were, and how resilient we were, and how we weren't going to be denied by this opportunity. And and certainly they were a worthy opponent. I mean, with the guys that are represented in the Hall of Fame or that are on the list from both teams, certainly they were a worthy opponent. But at that moment in that game, in that situation, it signified what we were about as a football club, as a football team, as a collective football family. And I'll never forget John hurling himself for the first down, and I just one hand pump, a hand gesture, and then just turned around and went back to the bench and sat down. I went back to the bench and sat down. I'm like, okay, that's who we are today. That's who we are today.
You guys remember the block by Eddie Mack on the linebacker where he pointed at the guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's who we were that day.
Okay, we got what we want. Perfect. We got exactly what we're outside. Go. There you go. Yeah.
Hand off Davis, left side, behind Howard Griffith. Nice hold, Davis, 15, 10, 5, Davis, TD to the 1.
We got to score the touchdown.
Fox 3 run, John.
John, you want to move, Coach?
What's that? Strong right tight, zoom F left. If not, we stay in I right, go Fox 3, I right tight. They're in base, I right tight, Fox 3 run.
Come on, T. Red left. Fox 3 run on one, right?
And the hearts are pounding in Denver. Nobody but Terrell here in Elway. Long count. Davis. It is a rocking standing up. Can you say Denver is in the lead? Third rushing touchdown. That's a Super Bowl record for TD. And the Broncos are a minute and 45 away from a world championship.
John Elway's 45th fourth-quarter game-saving drive was a team effort that the defense would have to preserve with 1 minute 45 seconds remaining.
Near the end of the game, they're driving on us. We have the lead. They come out in trips formation. We're playing cover 3, some type of cover 3 run in the middle of the field, and Brett Favre throws the ball up, and I see the receivers coming down, and I'm like, oh man, I can't let anybody catch this pass. And I just run, and unfortunately got hit by our own guy Randy Hilliard, but also their guy Robert Brooks, and we're all out for, man, a good 15, 20 seconds. And man, what were you guys thinking on the sideline when you saw that play?
I was on the field.
You on the field? I'm talking about Mark on the sideline. You on the field? I'm sorry.
And so since I was on the field, I looked back and I could hear the collision. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Super Bowl and things are loud, but you could actually hear the collision. I'm following the ball when the ball was thrown, and when I saw you laying down there, I wanted to run over. You being one of my best friends, I wanted to find out if you were okay. But then I saw the training staff run out to go check on you guys, and then I just thought, man, he put it out there. I was like, he put it all out there for us to win this game, and I hope he's okay. We got a couple more plays to go.
Yeah, you got a couple more plays. Yeah.
I was standing on the sideline and thinking to myself, hey, our guys are in blue, their guys are in white.
I know, right? It's crazy because people ask me what's my favorite memory, and it's not that play. It's the play after that when John Mobley knocks that pass down from Brett Favre to Mark Chmura, and I realized that we actually were going to be Super Bowl champions for the first time. I'm knocking that pass down. We did everything. We came on a journey together, man, and what better group of guys to do it with than all my great teammates and friends, man. Love you guys, man.
Yeah. Love you guys too, man.
Love you, brother.
I tell you, one of the cool things about that experience and winning that championship together is, I was blessed to be a part of 3 of them, and 2 of them, my teams were huge favorites. And after those games where we were huge favorites, I really didn't feel anything other than relief. Like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. We were winning. That game there was a euphoric feeling about winning that game, understanding what the franchise had been through in previous Super Bowls and understanding what John had been through in previous Super Bowls. And there was such a collective kind of, I know Pat said it, this one's for John, but there was such a collective feeling that it was kind of an unwritten deal that guys, we got to go out and win this for that guy who has meant so much to this franchise. So that was like, it's still the best feeling for me as a player that I've ever had, is winning that Super Bowl.
The thing I want to say here tonight is only 4 words. This one's for John.
It had taken 38 years for the Denver Broncos to fulfill their dream of a world title. But the emotion and pride this team shared following this 31-24 victory confirmed it had been worth the wait.
Last thing, guys, the Super Bowl parade. What did it mean to you guys individually, to the fans, to the city of Denver, and also, most importantly, I would say, Mr. Bowlen?
Well, for me, it just showed how much that it meant to this community for us to win the game, to see all of those fans there and know that it was finally true that we were Super Bowl champions. I remember talking to John about it, and John was like, man, my mom was like, man, we got to go through another Super Bowl, and I just want you guys to win, but I don't want the misery of losing. And I was listening to John talk about this, and then I just thought, man, like when we won it, then just imagine how his family felt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Imagine how his mom felt, how his dad felt, and then multiply that times an entire city, and that's what winning the Super Bowl meant for the city of Denver. I watched the Broncos lose 2 Super Bowls while I was at the University of Colorado. I was like, this is not going to happen again on my watch. And when we won that Super Bowl, man, it felt like the entire city was orange and blue.
You understand what it means to you as a player. You understand what it means to you as a football team. I understood the history that John Elway had in that game. But until you see the fans and the pouring out of emotion from the fans and what they had been through following the Broncos since 1960, that was kind of the eye-opening experience. It was really cool to be a part, and it was cool for all of us to be on the buses and to have our families with us, have our kids with us, and that was a really cool aspect of what we were able to experience.
Yeah, definitely, man. Just a memorable moment. Go down as one of the greatest times in Broncos history. Guys, I can't tell you how much I thank you for, spending so much time with us, going over this, going back down memory lane. You guys are awesome. I love you. Love you and your families, man. Y'all stay safe, too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. For me and my family, man, you guys represent the very best of football. I mean, you guys represent what it means to play in this league. I've known you, Atwater, since I was a senior in college coming out, and we have the same agents, and we have been friends for a long time. And then getting to know Mark Schlereth and his wonderful family, and all of these years, we've all remained so very tight, man. What a great team that was, and what a fantastic victory that was for the city of Denver.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys. Love you.
Love you, man.